clicked on this, but regardless, hello.
Let's begin, shall we?
Hello, hello. How's everyone doing today? Let us... Hi, hello. Time to begin. It is. Before we do our movie puzzle, I had some notes that I had to copy over. We'll talk about those in a little bit, but I just want to paste them in there, paste them into the document when we start in on our editing and stuff. But first, starting with our movie puzzle. We got 10 minutes on the clock. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Alright, Mission Impossible. I feel like I always mess this one up. Yeah, we'll come back to it. Moneyball. Is this one Chris Pratt? Yeah. I feel like we've had this one before. Licorice Pizza. Yeah, because this one is Sean Penn. I don't remember who the final guess is, but pretty sure we've had this one before. Toy Story 4. Yeah, I think Major is correct. L-L-E. Major nailed it. Okay, yeah, Vanessa Redgrave for Mission Impossible, Scarlett Johansson for Her, Owen Wilson for French Dispatch, and Keanu Reeves for Toy Story 4. Yeah. Alright, we've had this one before. So we're going to go over to fill the grid instead. Alright. So someone who is in Zodiac in Captain America Civil War would be Robert Downey Jr. Oh, do I need to explain this one? Movies across, movies up and down, where they intersect, you have to say who the person was who was in both movies. So someone who was in Troy and also in the movie Zodiac. And then we also have Oscar-winning actor or actress. Because Robert Downey Jr. is also that, we can place him there. I'm not sure who was in Zodiac who was also in Troy. You have to think about that one. Hobbit Battle of Five Armies. I'm going to guess this is Orlando Bloom, because I know he was in Troy. Yes. Someone who is in Captain America Civil War. Was Andy Serkis in Civil War? He was not. Rip. I'm gonna guess Kate Blanchett for that one. Okay. And then someone from the Ocean's 12 specifically. Okay. So we got George Clooney. Brad Pitt would have been in Troy. Julia Roberts? Yeah. Oh, Don Cheadle. Alright. We got most of them knocked out. We just have to figure out who is in Zodiac and Troy. That one's throwing me for a loop. Because I don't think it's Mark Ruffalo. I don't think it's Jake Gyllenhaal. And I don't think it's Robert Downey Jr., and those are kind of the three leads. I don't think it's Chloe Sevigny, but no, I don't think it's her. I'm trying to think of who else was in Zodiac. I don't know. And then someone who is in Hobbit and Captain America Civil War. So I don't think Benedict Cumberbatch was in Civil War, because that was kind of my first instinct, because I know he did a couple of voices for the Hobbit movies. And then past that, who else would have been in Civil War? Was Doctor Strange part? No, that's what I was saying. I don't think he was in the MCU yet. I think he was after Civil War. Yeah, I'm just not as familiar with the Hobbit movies. And they tend to be either British or Australian actors. So I'm trying to think along those lines. Because Hemsworth wasn't in it. Richard Armitage? Nope. Yeah, I know he was in The Hobbit, but yeah, I didn't think he was in Captain America Civil War. Would it be someone like Toby Jones? Nope. Martin Freeman. Yeah. Yep. As soon as you said it, I was like, yep, that's who it is. Alright, now we gotta figure out someone who is in Troy as well as in Zodiac. I could, I'll put it in, but I don't think it is. I don't believe he was in Zodiac. Yeah. Is it Brian Cox? Okay. He was in Troy. I wasn't sure. I wasn't totally certain he was in Zodiac, but he was. Yeah, I feel we should have gotten the Martin Freeman one sooner. I forget who Brian Cox plays in that movie. Um, Great movie, by the way, if you have not seen it. Zodiac is excellent. Okay, yeah, he was the TV personality. Yeah, it's been a while since I've watched it, but yep. We got there. We had 3 guesses to spare. We're good. All right. Now that we're nice and warmed up, let us get into editing. I was going to say reading and writing, but we're doing more editing today. So we went through a bit of our edits last time, and we have some stuff left over, and like I said, some stuff I wanted to think about a bit as we get deeper into our edits. So I'm kind of splitting them up so we have our general overall stuff that we need to address kind of as we go through the entire piece, and then the specific things we need to address within certain scenes that I know we need to address. So we're going to try to get through as many of those as we can today and see where we're at. So that's the plan. And add a space there. All right. So we're picking up on scene 111. Emiko has to... All right. So with this scene, we have Helene has found where the Stardust is. That's a hotel in Las Vegas. So she's going to go investigate it, but she's leaving Emiko behind. And currently, as we have it, it's just Emiko like, okay, go ahead. I'll be here. But the way that it ends, we need her to break up with Helene. Because otherwise, if Helene's still kind of maybe with Emiko at the end, it can get a little iffy. So we just want to make it a little cleaner in the narrative. So I think when Helene tells her, I need you to stay here, Emiko needs to have more of a reaction. So we're going to delete the end of the scene and kind of rewrite it. Sorry, I have something in my eye. There we go. I can see again. So I guess this should just lead directly into her giving kind of an ultimatum. Um, what's another word for saddened? Okay. Yeah. I think that fixes that. Then we move ahead to 132. So this one I just want to change how we enter the scene so it makes it's a little cleaner. What is... Alright, so Nayeli is Guatemalan, so... Dishes in... Common dishes in Guatemala. National dish of Guatemala, stew. Yeah. Naughty Dog, hi, hello, how's it going? I don't think that needs to be capitalized. Oh, nice, with the 7-stream streak. On the... I don't want to say dish. As a noun for the contents of a dish plate. No. 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 Really? A synonym for a dish is a woman or female person. Okay, so they don't have dish as a food course. Oh, yeah. Naughty Dog redeemed the Major wellness check. Major, how are you doing? I know you got your hair done today and you're packing, but I hope you're doing well. I always tell my wife to bring me to her work potlucks because I'm a dish. Uh, Doing well currently, doing my nails. Nice. We'll say meal. Yeah, that works. One thing I also remembered is we need to capitalize our title. Meant to do that last time. Anyway, Sage! Hi, hello. How are you? I hope you're doing better than last time when you had the plague. Text strikes through. Much better? Nice. I'm glad to hear it. Okay, so then we jump down to scene 134. Yeah, I don't even remember popping. Ooh. Yeah, that's not great. Yeah. Hi, hello. How are you doing? Could be better, but that's my fault. Uh, well, uh, hope you're doing better soon. Actually, with this scene, I like that it's kind of sweet and not about magic. And it ties into something we might talk about later, so I'm gonna say we're not actually using that note. It's fine. So then, oh yeah, our kind of montage after this. So the Margaret and yeah, we have to change around some stuff. Okay. So this needs to be the last scene of it. Serafina getting killed, and then we jump to. So that needs to go after that. Which means this needs to jump down there. Alright, this becomes kind of the issue. Yeah, we need scene 132. I don't know what it's going to be, but we need something. Scene 132. What is Helene doing in her cell all these years? Question mark. Alright, so basically what we did is change around the order of our kind of faux montage. Yeah, I think this will work fine. Because I wanted the end of it to be the scene where the hunters kill Serafina. Because that's going to be that's going to be kind of the reason why Bryn ends up going to find Margaret. Because she knows if the machine's ready, they're going to use it and they need to stop them. So that needs to be the last thing that happens before Bryn shows up to talk with Margaret. So that's why we needed to switch around those. So we switch those around. Yeah, one of those scenes I need to rewrite. I just need to figure out what the hell the scene's going to be. And then scene 146, our fucking prime hunter. Mid-40s, white, balding. So we might switch that. Sorry, I've been thinking about who the prime hunter is, and so I have a much clearer idea, so it's easier to write the character description when you know who the character is. Imagine that. If you can't tell, I really don't like this character. Nor who it's based on. Okay. That's good enough description of him for now, and we can always change it later. Alright, yeah, a lot of stuff at the end. A lot of stuff that remains is really looking at the end again. So we'll kind of try to run that all together. Oh yeah, and now that Yoon's in here, I can give him a double shout out. So he sent me after last stream a VOD from another streamer who was going over magic systems in fiction. And so I watched the whole thing, and it had some interesting stuff that I want that kind of inform some stuff that I think could help clarify and make the magic system feel mm, not more thought out, but more authentic, more grounded, more realistic, question mark, magic system, whatever. So one of the things they talked about were the limits on magic, and that's one thing going into this that I've been tried to be as consistent as possible about is having the magic be very grounded. Oh, yes. That is who it was. It was double blind. I wasn't 100%, so I didn't want to say the incorrect name. Yes, we will shout them out. Because it was very interesting. So one of the things they talked about were kind of putting limits on your magic so your characters aren't just gods, basically. So I feel like I inherently put limits on the characters as I was writing them, but having a scene where someone becomes exhausted because they're using too much magic, I feel like when Helene is saving the captured witches at the docks scene, that when she gets near the end of that, because she's been using so much magic, she needs to be exhausted from it to show that there are limits to this magic that it because up until that point anyone only ever uses really just like one spell at a time. So I think showing that to the audience at some point makes it clear, okay, they can run out of their aura, their ability to cast magic. So that one doesn't go into the end, but it's something we need to address. So what scene would that be in? Let me scroll up so we can. So I believe it's in this sequence. Yeah, so they're rescuing. Yeah, I think somewhere in here, right before it's collapsed. So that's in scene 102. Yeah, so at the end of the sequence, we have Helene going back to try and help the another set of captured witches that are up on like a second floor platform. So she kind of creates a ramp. Yeah, I feel like within this scene, she's starting to feel woozy. No, it should happen here. So we note that Helene is exhausted, and then we can also put it in dialogue. Um, so how would they describe being drained of magic? Milks. Not what I was thinking. If Rad were here, he'd say we should just say she's pooped. Come on, let's go. You go. I'll get that. The Witch Wound, Aradold. The Silent Void. Yeah. Set. No, witches can't see other witches' auras. So I think just saying you're spent. And then just Helene's saying, no, I'll get them. Then we're with Margaret. Fatigued. And very said exhausted. Congrats on getting through the draft. Punch up a bit. Yeah, so also, hi Mookie, hello. Welcome in. Hope you're having a good start to your week. Yeah, we're going through because there are specific things I know that we needed to address. So we're going through those kind of first. And then we'll go through kind of top to bottom through the whole thing. To kind of edit it, clean it up, and more of an in-depth edit. But yeah, right now is more editing the stuff we know we need to edit. So this is all climactic stuff. Yeah. So we'll leave that. Yeah, so a note I wrote to myself is about the limitation that all the magic is fairly grounded. Um, I don't know if it's something we can put in the text of the piece, but I did want to try to have it be as possible within known physics. And so, like, when Margaret is fighting the one hunter, she's able to turn, their swords to rust. So she's not, like, changing the um, molecular, or she is kind of changing the molecular structure, but she's not creating or destroying um, matter. She's just changing the form of it. And so I feel like that's why that helps ground it as well. That's why I call it the vomit draft. Got to clean up the yeah. Um, so this note really isn't a note. Yeah, the way I always try to approach it is the better your first draft and the cleaner it is, the less editing you have to do. And so every draft you just want to try to make it better and make it better. So this is something I might need to inject somewhere. I'm just not quite sure exactly where. The fact that in this universe, all witches can cast spells. So our seers and other witches are able to cast spells, but they have kind of like specialties that they're able to hone in on. You can absolutely use something early on described as magic, nature grounded, blanky blank, use magic, works within the laws of physics, a good way to put that out. Yeah, it's just, especially early on, like so much of the conversations are between witches, and so they would already know this stuff. And so, like, it's really not until we get to the part with like Margaret and Ellie, which is like right before we get into the final, what we start moving towards the climax. Um, so that's one of the things that makes it difficult to kind of describe it. So it's going to be showing a lot of it. So this is something for the end that I want to think about how the events of the story change Margaret and Helene and the consequences of their actions through the movie. So you're looking at past notes and jumping around the script to make sure concerns are addressed. And you'll take a full look from page 1 later. Yes, that is correct, Mookie. Yeah, so we'll leave that note there for kind of our overall notes that we need to look at as we go through. Or for this one specifically, we don't. I don't know exactly what she's doing, so it's something I'm gonna have to think about. And then something I looked up because I wanted. One of the things we did last week was consistency with characters in our Shawnee scene. So having them be as specific and consistent as possible. So one thing I wasn't particularly consistent on was the use of like wards and runes and like sigils. And so for this, I believe the only two we need to worry about is wards and runes and making sure I have those differentiated and specific. So wards are for protection. So that's the hunters are going to wear wards for protection. I guess we just search and make sure that they're correct. So we'll search ward first. It goes with. All right, let's start with 1. Toward. Don't need to worry about that. Toward. 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 I guess I should have searched for space, then ward. No results. So I guess I just used rune for everything, and we need to change some to words. Alright, that's why we do this. Okay, yeah, so this is early on where the hunters first approach Helene on the beach. The hunter pulls back his jacket to reveal a stone carved with a rune. This needs to be a ward. Ward, stone carved. So should we say like a sigil carved into a stone? Sigil. Sigil sounds cooler than rune. Yeah. Yeah, when I tried to look up like the differences between like wards, runes, and sigils, most of what I found was just like they can mean whatever you want them to mean, just be consistent with it. So, but typically a ward is more of a protective thing, whereas a sigil and a rune are symbols that can enchant objects, if that makes sense. Not wardrobe, just ward. Uh. So there's probably not. It's all like Magic the Gathering stuff. Okay, yeah, so their ward can be kind of whatever, it's just specific. Um, a symbol carved into stone. Wardstone. Aerospace Company in El Segundo. Wardstone is generally defined as a fictional or magical object, often carved with... Oh, often a carved. Used in fantasy settings and tabletop RPGs to anchor, project, or power protective magic. Yeah, I mean, that is probably a... We can just call it a wardstone. Do we need to describe what it is in the text? I think the context of it makes it clear enough. Redo. Award stone. Stone. Okay. Stone carved with a symbol to ward off magic, but I don't want to use ward. To repel magic. Alright, so the hunter pulls back his jacket to reveal a ward stone, a stone carved with a sigil to repel magic. Sigil that repels magic. Stone carved used to repel magic? Levington! Hi, hello, how's it going? That works. Don't have to say words off magic, hunter's dialogue. Lack of magic, explain that. Yeah. Used to repel magic. Yeah, I just figure if it's 4 extra words in an action block, it's not going to be a huge issue to clarify. So, this is what it's called, this is what it looks like, and this is what it does. And so we have all that in a couple lines. We don't have to describe it again. So if we need to show the wardstone again, we can just say wardstone and they should know what it is. It goes, just chilling. Nice. We are doing some editing and stuff. Okay, so this one needs to be a wardstone. I'm gonna add that to the dictionary. Alright, so this is later on in the warehouse, so the rune carved shackles, the runes. So this is the slight difference, but the specific difference that we're getting at is the wards protect from magic, the runes can prevent magic from being used. So yeah. Oh! I mean, there's no issue describing what it does for the reader's sake or introducing them to. Yeah. Hunters guarding cages, lining the outside, filled with dozens of abducted witches, rune carved shackles around their necks. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, that is correct for runes. So this is okay. This needs to just be wardstone. Deep breaths. Yeah, it's gonna be fine. It's just one of those things. Nearest hunter approaches Helene. She notices a ward stone, realizing. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so this is when Bryn in the Hunters trap Helene. She sees runes carved into the metal, so that prevents her from using magic. Yeah, the rune. I want to say etched. Doesn't really matter. Whatever. So that is correct. And then we're back to the start. Okay. So that should resolve that one. I'm going to leave that one as a note in case it comes back again. But it should be resolved. And then this is an end thing that we need to look at. Alright, so all the rest of our notes, all of these are from our climactic events. So we're going to look at all of these together. But we are just over an hour into stream already, so we're going to take a quick break. I will throw up some words on stream for anyone who would like to participate. And yeah, I'm going to step away for a few minutes, and then when I'm back, we will continue editing. So let me disappear for a moment. Bring up words on stream. Alright. I'm going to step away. You know the thing. 3, 2, 1, let's go! Yeah, I'm with you, Levington. Um, yeah, I thought you guys got the first one. I was surprised. Timer's cheeks. Yeah. Hi, hello. I have returned. Ah, that's why we lost. Major was otherwise occupied doing the pew-pewing. Nah, I know. You gotta get your pew-pewing in before you leave town. Alright, back to editing. So all this stuff is about Major was bullying 10-year-olds in the game chat in her time of need. Alright. Everything else is going to be in near the end. So Helene's cell, then we're back. So let's not try to do everything all at once. We do one at a time. And I think this will help slow down the beginning of it, so it helps ramp up a little cleaner. And I think this is a Naughty Dog suggested this one a while back. We want the Hunter Prime to call the witches unnatural. I just need to figure out the best place to do it. So maybe we have Bryn respond to him? Yeah, maybe that works. Creature is not creature. Duh. No, duh. He can say it right there in the end of which is Yeah. Yeah, I think we got to the same place. Because that's part of the thing that I wanted to tie into as well. Um, yes, that works. And then yeah, we'll just have to change that a little bit, but that's fine. Maybe I kind of explain why they are technically using magic too. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's kind of implied, but yeah, we'll see if there's a good place to put that. Something familiar. Da 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 da. Bryn looks to Margaret. Bryn looks to Margaret. Uh, I think we just delete that. Okay. Okay, then that works because she's in a different place staging, so that's fine. We did the thing. Alright, then we want to show exactly what happened with the hunters. So that'll be in the... So we're gonna have kind of an extra beat before when they exit the tunnels to when the final interaction between Helene and Margaret. Reading an article about a guy being attacked by an alligator after he fled a DUI stop in Louisiana. uh, that sounds like a Florida man story, to be honest, but I'm not surprised. Louisiana ain't far away. Finds. She nears the opening. Yeah, I can just... She nears the opening. Confringo. I remember that from um, the Hogwarts Legacy game. That's what it was.
Abolfaccio.
Cool. Yes, you just heard Latin. We are using Latin as our spells. We have it as destroy. Yeah, and a lot of these, like, I want them to be close enough that if someone knows Latin, that it's like, it's close. Um, yeah, but I want them to have a particular sound to them. Uh, it's hard to explain what that sound is, but it's one of those things where, like, if I hear the right thing, I'm like, yes, that's what I want. But yeah, something is going to be destroyed or abolished. So I think it works. Alright, so hold on. I need to see how I want this to go. Okay. Now I gotta see if I can actually explain what I see in my head for how I want this to go. Alright. Underground base. So I want, like, the sand to sink and then have, like, explosions and then it all erupts. I don't know if blasting is the right word, but Explosions from the underground base erupt. Hurling sand. Alright, so before her, the sand sinks into a crater. Boom, boom, boom. Explosions. Erupt, hurling sand. And then there's a fire. Emerges. Inspirited. I like that. Oh, that's what we can use. Yeah, we can. Letitia. I can spell the characters' names in the story I'm writing. uh, Sometimes. All right, this. All right, yeah, we're doing a lot of stuff, so going through trying to fix as much of it as I can. Um, so this is kind of the note that the first part of what we did was the Freed Witches destroy the Hunter's base, and we have another instance of fire in the night. So we have our fire, we're in the nighttime, that's what we want. So we have that imagery. And then the second part is going to be answering the question of what happened to all of the hunters. Um, so this probably happens. Okay. If it's midnight in Las Vegas, what time is it in, well, let's say China? Yes, in Russia would be about the same. Oh, no, it would be earlier. Okay, but it would be day. So I'm just putting this as the end of the scene. And then we just have to add a line or two about Helene approaching, or Letitia walking away, Helene approaching. Sylvie, hi, hello. How are you doing? Tired already? Yeah. I will be that way tomorrow. What's on tomorrow? Oh, nothing. I have to go into the office tomorrow, so I have to wake up earlier. I was able to work from home today, so that extra hour of sleep really helps. And, you know, not having to drive. So we'll need to Google Translate to what would they shout? Yeah, that works. So she would be I always mess that up. Nope. Okay. That fixes that. Okay, so that gets rid of that note. Alright, So we got through a lot of notes. We're not quite done yet. We still got 2 more, but they're kind of big notes, complicated. So I don't know if we'll get through them tonight, but we can at least start talking through them and figuring out. Oh, so we ended up not using that. That's fine. So we can put all this down here as well. Okay, so the 2 kind of story things with the end that I feel like I need to look at closer. One of them I think I have the answer to, but we need to rewrite a little bit of how the climax plays out. So the way we currently have it, Bryn releases the shackles, it crashes into the machine, Margaret absorbs all the magic aura. And then pretty much instantly, Margaret gets rid of all the hunters. I think there needs to be a beat of Margaret having to make a choice. Because up to this point, every time the hunters have kind of showed up and things have gone poorly, she's ended up running away. So I feel like there needs to be kind of a hesitation between when she absorbs all the power, realizes what it is, and when she has the hunters all disappear. So that's one thing we need to do, because that'll make it not feel so like... It'll give it some... It'll fit more with her character in overcoming what's been holding her back. And then the other thing I want to think about is not just the climactic events, but how the events of the story have changed Margaret and Helene, and what consequences have they faced. Because right now, there really aren't a lot of consequences for them at the end. They get a happy ending, which, good, that's what we want. But I feel like it has to come at a cost to them. So it might be more that, like, Margaret tried to save Bryn when she was freeing all the witches, or while she had all the power from all the witches, but wasn't able to. But I don't know, that's something I've just been thinking about. I feel like the climax is just too matter of fact, and I feel like there needs to be more conflict in it. So I don't know, something I gotta think about. I don't know right now the best way to resolve it, so it's probably gonna be something I have to think about and come back to next time, or once we start going through and do our like page 1 edit. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to come back to that next time. I'll leave those as notes for something that gonna have to think about as we go through our edit. So I think, yeah, and what Helene is doing in her cell all these years, that's another thing that's more specific, but I don't have an exact answer for yet. So we have kind of general stuff that we need to look out for as we go through, and then a couple specific things, but they're all fairly late. So it might be stuff that we need to set up better, or things I need to think about for how exactly the end plays out. So that will all be for next time. For now, I think that is going to be it for us for tonight. So let me disappear and see who else might be streaming that we could raid over to. Looks like Author Christie is streaming, so we can head on over there. Cool. Yeah. So that's going to be stream for tonight. We got through some of our edits. I feel like we fixed some stuff in the ending, but there's still some other things we need to work out. I will be back on Thursday, and I think that's where we'll start going through our page 1 edits through the whole thing. So that is the plan. Yeah, thank you again, everyone, stopping by, hanging out, lurking, chatting, all the stuff, all the things. I appreciate it. And I will see you next time.
Thanks for checking out my channel. Do whatever you want. Live your life. Hope you're happy in your body. Much love to you. And see you around.